making of the English language. The period between the conquest and Chaucer is, however, much more important from the point of view of our language than from that of our literature. During these 300 years, while little was being produced in prose or verse of any intrinsic value, modern English was gradually evolving out of the conflict of opposing tongues and assuming national rank as the speech of the whole people. To trace the stages of this evolution does not, of course, fall within the scope of a primer of literary history. It is enough for us to note that the final product of it was a mixed or compound language, the grammatical structure and vocabulary of which alike were the result of Norman French influences acting upon the old Anglo-Saxon material. It was this new tongue which ultimately displaced that of the conquerors. Norman French long continued, indeed, to be the only recognized official language and, to some extent, the language of fashion. But by the beginning of the 14th century, it had entirely lost its hold upon English life at large, and the complete triumph of English was signalized by a statute of 1362, which proclaimed that henceforth all proceedings in the law courts should be in that language instead of French. For more than 100 years before this, numerous English translations of French romances had shown the growth of a literary public among those who, as the phrase then ran, had no French. We must, however, remember that while French was thus disappearing, there was as yet no standard form of the new tongue to take its place. English was broken up into dialects. There was a Northern English, a Midland English, and a Southern English, which differed fundamentally from one another, and which were yet subdivided within themselves into numerous minor varieties. And this confusion, little by little, East Midland English tended to gain ascendancy because it was the speech of the capital and of the two centers of learning, Oxford and Cambridge. Then when Chaucer began to write, he chose this as his vehicle, and it was largely on account of his influence that what had hitherto been only one of the several provincial dialects attained to the dignity of the national language. We thus come round to Chaucer, the first of our really national English poets.